Hi, everyone. I want to share my journey through a relationship that broke me and how I'm finding the strength to rebuild my life. It all started when I began dating my ex, a 27-year-old man, 2 years ago. I was 26 at the time, and like many relationships, it started with excitement and hope. But early on, there were red flags I chose to overlook. One day, I saw messages on his phone where his best friend called him baby. It felt odd. Curiosity got the better of me, and I read further. I discovered him saying things like, "Don't mind her, she always gets jealous of you," and "You are my baby, I don't have any other baby." My heart sank. I confronted him, and it turned into a massive fight. I wanted to leave, but he begged for forgiveness, promising it wouldn't happen again. And to be fair, he didn't repeat that behavior, but it wasn't the end of the issues. Over time, his behavior became cruel. He screamed at me during arguments, once shouting, "Shut the fuck up," when I simply asked him to come home early from a party. That night, I cried myself to sleep, questioning why I stayed. He broke up with me 4 times, and every single time, I found myself going back to him. I clung to the belief that I could fix things if I just tried harder. I started therapy, adjusted my behavior, and did everything I could to be the perfect partner. But no matter how much I changed, he always found a way to belittle me. Last December, I trusted my instincts again and checked his phone. What I found crushed me. He had saved Instagram stories of another woman in a hidden folder, some as recent as the same week. That was it. I told him I couldn't continue like this. But guess what? I went back to him again. I convinced myself it was the last chance. It wasn't just love, it was fear. The fear of being alone, of starting over, of admitting I'd wasted 2 years of my life. Our relationship was long distance, and I was always the one making the effort, calling, visiting, and trying to keep us connected. But when I called him, his responses were flat, disinterested. He'd barely say okay when I asked how his day was. I reduced our contact to just one text in the morning and one call at night, but even that was too much for him. He grew colder, and I began planning my exit. I knew I deserved better, but breaking away wasn't easy. Last night, I asked him a question I dreaded. "Do you still love me?" His silence was deafening. After hours, he finally admitted that he didn't. He told me he'd fallen out of love. It hurt more than anything I'd ever experienced, but for the first time, I felt clarity. Later, he called back, saying his mother told him he was an asshole for letting me go. He suggested we take a 2-week break to figure out if he missed me, but I knew, this was the end. Today, I'm in pain, but I'm also determined. I've spent so much time twisting myself into someone I barely recognize, all for a man who didn't value me. I refuse to let him back into my life. Yes, I'll need therapy and support to rebuild myself, but I'm ready to do the work. My self-worth can't depend on someone who decides, on a whim, whether or not to love me. So here's my message to anyone going through something similar. You're not alone. You deserve respect, love, and someone who cherishes you for who you are. And if you're stuck in a relationship that makes you feel less than whole, know that you have the strength to leave. Whether he comes back or not, one thing is clear. I don't want him back. My journey is just beginning, and I'm ready to reclaim my life. Thank you for listening to my story. If this resonates with you, share it with someone who might need to hear it. Remember, you are stronger than you think.